In this video, I'm going to be explaining export subsidies simply. First of all, we need to look at an exporting country that is operating in a free market trade. Now, as you can see here, the world price is higher than the equilibrium. So the world price sits at PW, which gives us the supply at SW. And at this price, the domestic consumption will be at Q2, and the domestic supply will be Q3. And as the domestic supply is greater than the domestic demand, the excess domestic supply is exported into the international market at price PW. Let's have a look at the effects of an export subsidy. The first thing that happens is that governments pay domestic producers a subsidy to make more goods, and the subsidy will shift the supply to the right from SD to SD plus sub. And the result of this is that the quantity produced increases from Q3 to Q4. As the government is subsidizing for every unit made, foreign buyers of the products will be paying at price PW. This is due to the government paying the distance between SD and SD plus sub, which can be located here. A simple example would be you exporting some products for $800 to a foreign buyer. This is PW. But then the government gives you $200 as a subsidy. This is the distance between SD and SD plus sub. So as a result of this, the domestic producers will receive PW plus sub. And because of this export subsidy, prices will stay at PW plus sub domestically, as firms will not want to sell domestically at PW when they know they can get a higher price exporting the same product. So they charge PW plus sub domestically as well. And as a result of this, domestic demand falls as price increases, and domestic demand goes from Q2 to Q1. And as you can see in this diagram, the exports before subsidy is Q3 to Q2, and the exports after the subsidy is Q4 to Q1. In this section, we look at the government spending and the welfare loss. Here we are looking at Area C, as the higher prices of PW plus sub reduces the domestic demand from Q2 to Q1. Before the export subsidy that was given to producers which raised the price, these were efficient and mutually agreeable trades from buyers and sellers. And because of the increase in price, there'll be a reduction of demand from domestic consumers from Q2 to Q1, as these consumers are priced out completely, and for the buyers, no goods are produced or traded. This leads to a welfare loss. And in the case of Area E, this is when the output exceeds the equilibrium. Every single unit produced was because of the subsidy. And looking at the diagram, every unit produced after this point here, the marginal cost of each unit produced increases. This means the cost price of making these products is higher than what you are selling it for. This makes Area E highly resource inefficient. And moving on to government spending, as the distance between PW plus sub and PW is the subsidy per unit, and the total exports is the distance between Q4 and Q1, the area shaded in purple, or C, D, and E, is the government spending, and this export subsidy is paid for by the taxpayers. So let's have a look at the consumer and producer surplus. The original consumer surplus is A, where the maximum price that they are willing to pay is here, as the entire range of prices above PW benefits the consumers as they are only paying PW. However, when the export subsidy is introduced, due to higher prices, the consumer surplus decreases. So moving on to the producer surplus. The producer surplus here is FG/HI, as the minimum price that producers are willing to sell is here. The entire range below the price PW benefits the producers because the price that they are actually selling at is PW. And the introduction of an export subsidy increases its producer surplus drastically. In the next few slides, I will be evaluating that the increase in producer surplus of B, C, and D might be artificial. So the new producer surplus is actually funded by the taxpayer. So there's no real gain in surplus whatsoever. Moreover, C, if you remember from a few slides back, is the inefficient allocation of resources, because due to a higher price, there will be less demand from domestic consumers due to being priced out completely. So no goods will be produced for these consumers, leading to this welfare loss. And lastly, producer surplus of B is arguably just taken from consumers, which is a transfer from the consumers. Lastly, we look at the producer revenue before and after the export subsidy. This is the producer revenue before the subsidy, which is PW multiplied by Q3. And as you can see, the revenue increases drastically after the subsidy to PW plus sub multiplied by Q4. And this is the change in revenue, which can be calculated with the new total revenue minus the old total revenue. I hope this helped. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.